gogvi.org, and you can see us on social media. We are on Instagram and Facebook, just at Green Village Initiative. So our agenda for tonight, we have our opening, which we just finished up with. We will hear from all of our program managers and coordinators about our plans for 2021, how we navigated 2020, and we will also have an update from Ellie, our executive director, about Reservoir Community Farm, and a closing as starting with Charlene, our School Gardens program manager. So feel free, take it away, Charlene.
Awesome, thank you, Brianna. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Charlene Rodriguez. My pronouns are she and her. I am the School Garden program manager. I joined GVI as a food corps service member for the school year 2019 to 2020, and then I transitioned into this role in July of 2020. And so as far as 2020 successes, we were able to engage about 567 students for garden education through our partnership with Food Corps. Again, with our partnership with Food Corps, we were able to teach or provide professional development workshops for our teachers to build up their skills and boost their confidence to grow food and teach in their garden. Through our partnership with Food Corps and SHU, Sacred Heart University, we were able to launch a new website that basically increased accessibility from all of our lesson plans and other wonderful resources that we put together over the years to support our teachers in garden education. I will be putting that in the chat soon. We also were able to rebuild one school garden despite COVID-19. And what I mean by that is that unfortunately the district mandated that non-essential people, that would have included us, were not able to be inside of the school buildings to provide education and also to be on the school ground. So that meant we weren't able really to access the school gardens. We were able to do it on a case-by-case basis. So the pictures that you see on the slide, the picture on the right is what is the rebuild of Lewis Marin School Garden. And on the left is a picture of me doing some seedlings at our farm. And our Food Corps service members just weren't able to engage students through their hands-on learning. They've been able to start engaging this in January through virtual learning, which is pretty awesome. As far as our focus for 2021, we're going to focus on building up our educational resources on our website. We're going to continue to host professional development workshops for teachers. We're going to rebuild a few school gardens, which is exciting. And we're going to continue to offer garden supplies to our school community. And we're also focusing on increasing our efforts to build relationships with schools. So that's our focus for the year. Do you guys have any questions? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Charlene, for that update on school gardens. Again, if anyone does have any later questions or wants to reach out and learn more about our school gardens program, we do have Charlene's email here as well. So we will go on to hear from Jessica, our community gardens program manager.
Hey again, everyone. My name, Jessica Ramos, pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Community Garden Program Manager. So this is actually one of my favorite pictures here. This was just some great team effort to get garden beds built over at Huff Avenue. One of the most exhilarating and empowering moments that I've had in my career here at GVI. And actually, this is one of my successes for the year. One of my major successes was planning the rebuild of this garden, and we're about halfway there. And one of the goals for 2021 I keep forgetting what year we're in, is to complete this build. And we will definitely be looking for volunteers. If anyone is interested in joining us in the coming months, I will send out information on that. Some other successes that we had this year was hiring me as a full-time community garden manager. This really allowed GVI to dedicate more focused time and resources to our community gardens and the gardeners that make the garden just so amazing. We were also able to provide resources to our gardeners like hands-free hand washing stations, PPE, and signage provided to each garden at the start of the season to protect our gardeners and gardens. We also provided over 1,164 seed packets and over 814 local seedling donations that included tomatoes, kale, bok choy, squash, and so many, many more. We did, of course, have some stressors this past year. There was some garden tension that arose from COVID protocols. Also, we had gardens exist without a garden captain for the last year, Johnson Oak Park, Wood Ave, and Ogden Street. We also had a couple of gardens that were not grown in because of just feelings of negativity around being in a garden with other folks during COVID, which is definitely understandable. Some of our goals for this year are increasing our interpretation service availability. So I was so excited to see that we were offering interpretation for tonight. But we also want to make sure that there's interpretation of learning resources for at least one other language besides Spanish. And we also are going to go ahead and complete that rebuild at Huff Ave, as I mentioned earlier. And a huge goal for this year as well is making our gardens more accessible to all people by creating beds that fall within the American Disabilities Act requirements. So this will ensure that folks with limited mobility or reach can also garden within our networks. I'm so excited about that one. As that garden there on Huff Ave has some of our, we have gardeners up until their 90s. So we want to make sure that they can continue to garden as long as they feel like they want to. So those are our goals for the year.
All right, thank you so much, Jessica. Do we have any questions for Jessica about our Community Gardens program?
No question. This is Karen Bracey from the Reservoir Garden. I am a plot owner. Those the plots here on Huff Avenue look really nice, very nice. I wish ours were a little bit higher, but I'm not going to complain.
Thank you. We hope to get some more in the network as well in the coming years.
Did a wonderful job.
Thank you so much.
There's a question from Kayla in the chat. How many community gardens do you all manage?
Hey, Kayla. So at the moment, we have 12 community gardens all over the city of Bridgeport.
Very nice.
And you were saying for in need of like volunteers, you were going to put something in the chat, or afterwards would we receive something?
So we are always updating through social media and other ways for volunteers. But if you are interested and you feel comfortable, you can send me your email address and I can put you on our list.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Those were some really great questions, and we'll keep rolling on. So we do have our youth leadership program next with our program coordinator, Pat. I do know that Pat was having some issues with his Zoom connection. Pat, are you there?
Yeah, I got back in.
All right, very cool. All right.
Hey, how's everybody doing? So I have just like a few updates. Just bear with me. My connection has been like in and out all day. Um, so some of our successes, we had a great spring kickoff. It incorporated food justice in a listening session that the youth participated in, and they took notes along GVI and Sacred Heart University. Some of our youth fellows opened up a curbside pickup for food service. They worked with unhoused populations and implemented an action project of launching a youth-led catering business. And 8 youth went on their first hike and engaged with nature for recreational educational purposes through partnership with 2 coyotes. And those were really great because some of our youth, actually never got to go, believe it or not, being in Bridgeport, never really went on hikes and never really got to just interact with what could actually really just be in their backyard. And so we went on a great hike. They enjoyed themselves. Got to really get in touch with nature, run around, have fun, which, as funny as it seems and normal to them, like they were losing their mind. So it was really great. Some of the stressors that we had was just, kind of reprogramming, mainly, which was the main stressor for COVID, because, with GVI, a lot of what we do, we like to dig in, like no pun intended. And we do a lot of hands-on work. So kind of switching over to having everyone maintain the 6 feet and wearing masks in 90-degree weather can be also very hard over a long period of time. So just trying to find new ways to implement like water breaks, finding, making sure everyone was in their comfort zone still, allowing everyone to kind of speak up. Hey, listen, like if you feel a little overwhelmed, let me know. Like you can take a break, take a breather. And yeah, and one of a few of our like kind of goals is we want to continue to find youth and encourage them to just kind of think outside of the box and help shape food justice within Bridgeport and provide training and supportive community, and just keep pushing them forward, because the youth is really what we have in the end all be all. And then some of our focus areas are, we're looking to hire youth leadership for the manager role full time, which, is really a big thing, because before we know it, the summer will be here. We want to have more monthly flag meetings, because that was something that we had some time ago, and something we really wish to start back up, to have that time to communicate with all alumni and all different people. It's really great to hear even some people from Path Youth programs to be able to kind of speak up and say what might have worked for them, what might have not. And yeah, really just to keep empowering the youth to move forward, and really just let them know like the world is really there. So that's all we're really here for. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask me. I'd love to answer and help out.
All right. Thank you so much, Pat, for that update. So we'll get into our last program that we'll hear from tonight. And this is our farm program at Reservoir Community Farm with Catherine, the farm manager.
Hi, everybody. I'm Catherine, the farm manager. I think most people this past summer called me New Ellie, but that's because I just started in this position in June. And when I arrived, the farm was luckily already in full swing, thanks to the very hard work of our assistant farm manager, Richard Meyer, our former farm crew, Lucas Stoyanov, who's on this call, and our other farm crew member, Don Wilson, who managed to get the whole farm prepped and planted and seedlings started. So despite the fact that the COVID onset perfectly coincided with the farming onset, we had a really successful season and harvested just over 3,000 pounds of food. And we, according to our numbers, we donated more food and seedlings than any other year. So it was a really rewarding summer in that regard. I have to say it was challenging to do farm work in a mask all day, but it was such a treat because we could actually be working together in a safe outside place where we could be with people and work with our hands and be in fresh air at all times. So that was really such a blessing and a wonderful job that I managed to stumble into this year. I'm so happy to be with GVI. Because in a normal year, we have workshops and field trips and community events happening at the farm. Not so much this year, but that allowed us to contribute more to our growing online library of resources that all of our programs have been contributing to. So if you ever are kind of stuck on some gardening principles or want to know about bugs, I encourage you to head to our YouTube channel and to our website to see some of the instructional videos we have for gardening and farming practices. Some of the volunteers on this call got to participate in this like multi-part composting series that we just sort of ended up having because one of our partners owns a composting company and he volunteered to create new bins at our farm and teach a whole bunch of volunteers all about composting, which was really fun. This coming season, we hope to share more about the cool things that we do at the farm and have more people access them from the community. And part of that's going to be making the farm a more welcoming place, just sort of visually and physically. So in part to do that, Brianna, if you could switch the slide for me. We are starting the Reservoir Community Farm Advisory Board. The acronym is FAB for short, which is kind of fun. So actually the first meeting of that will be 1 week from right now, next Monday evening. I would invite all of you to join our Zoom call where we're just gonna really be specifically discussing the farm, any programs or workshops that we hope to do this year, any videos you'd like to see, ways to improve the farm's appearance, any things that we want to focus on maintenance-wise. We just want this to be a place where more people who use the farm have more direct input about what goes on there. So I'm really excited to hear from you all about what you'd like to see and do on the farm this season. Yeah, so if you're interested in that, you can email me at farm@gogvi.org to get the Zoom link, and we can hang out next week and talk about this. And starting in March, we will, COVID dependent, we would love to see you back on the farm volunteering with us, and definitely look out for info about that in your emails. So the last thing we did this year was sort of a surprise project in December, and we ended up creating a survey that we conducted around the neighborhood of the farm program and help from all of the GVI staff to talk about the issue of the possibility of a library being built where the farm is. It was a little bit shocking to hear at first, but it's been really interesting to hear from the community and hear from the different sort of agencies in the city that are working on this project. And Ellie will talk about it much more after this, but we spent 3 of the coldest days of December walking through the snow and knocking on our neighbors' doors and hearing what they thought about the farm and the library. And it was really heartening to hear that over half of respondents says that they use 1 or more programs at the farm. And we have a lot of visibility in the neighborhood with 84% overall awareness. You can see where we canvassed in the red lines drawn on the map on the right side of your screen. And Ellie will tell you guys a lot more about that. But if you have any questions about the farm specifically or the Community Advisory Board, I would love to hear your questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Catherine, for telling us about the farm. And next, we will hear from Ellie, our executive director, about specifically the conversation about a library and the future of the farm site.
Thank you so much, Brianna, and thank you everyone who's tuned in tonight and is taking time away from your Monday night to share space with us, share some virtual space with us. And I want to thank all the folks who presented and made tonight possible on the GVI team. I have the utmost respect and admiration and care for everyone who is on the call tonight from GVI making this possible. And our team is really what GVI is about. That's why I'm able to be here tonight, not only as Farmer Ellie, but Executive Director Ellie. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and thanks so much to my team for making this possible. It's wild to look back at 2020, which was a year truly unlike any other, and to see how hard our team worked to make sure that our programs stayed supporting our community and stayed intact. And I hope that you've all not only felt like you're a little bit more informed about our programs, but feel really empowered to reach out to us and let us know what we could do in 2021 to make our mission of growing food knowledge, leadership, and community in Bridgeport by growing food, even stronger. Because truly GVI is about community work, and you, just by being on this call, are a part of that work alongside us. So thanks for being part of our family, as I call it. I know, corny, but pun very much intended. So our network of 23 school gardens, 12 community gardens, our youth leadership program, and our farm, which operates in a lot of ways as a hub site for all of that work, were deeply impacted by COVID. We came through a really hard year alongside all of you, and I'm so proud of the work that we've done. But I'll be getting now into kind of the elephant in the room, which is the future of the farm and the future of the farm site. So before I move forward, maybe not everyone on this call has been to the farm. I feel like most of you have, and I'm actually the person I'm most excited to come to the farm was actually in the frame with Lucas a little while ago. He's a member of the GVI family, the new baby Koa. We can't wait to have him join one day. But the farm site is located on 1469 Reservoir Avenue. We are a proud part of the Reservoir neighborhood up on the historic Whiskey Hill, which historically it's important for us to name and really center in the fact that that is Paugussett tribal land, as is all of Bridgeport. And that Reservoir Community Farm was established there after several decades of vacancy on the site that many of you on the call could actually inform us even more about, because we're just a bunch of young millennials talking about the land, but many of you have lived in the neighborhood for generations and understand the shops that came and went and how long that vacancy was there. But essentially GVI came to Bridgeport in 2012, and the city partnered after GVI had built 23 school gardens and partnered to absorb 12 of the community gardens. We suddenly had a network of nearly 40 garden sites, and a lot of teachers and a lot of community gardeners asking, where do I come to talk to GVI? And so this site emerged as our farm site. We knew we wanted to grow food. We knew we wanted to support gardeners, and we knew we wanted to make change in the food system, not only in Bridgeport, but in Connecticut. And so that's what this site represents, is a hub site, a place for people to come and learn and make mistakes and grow in more ways than one. And our youth program developed from that. It's, I call it the most organic of our programs, because the youth program started because young people, teens from our neighborhood in Reservoir, came to the fence line and said, hey, if you pay me, I will make your farm look better. and that's developed from being just an employment program to now being a leadership and youth development program. So next slide, please. We want to thank the neighborhood and NRZ for working with us to make the farm what it is today. But unfortunately, an issue has emerged, which has become kind of an annual issue, which is that the development of the farm has come back onto the table again. So GVI, just to catch all of you up, has a lease for that land with the city of Bridgeport until March of 2022. And we are not able to renew that lease because the city council representation, there are 2 city council members for each district in Bridgeport, and the Reservoir neighborhood city council representatives, without our knowledge and according to the survey that we did, without almost all of the neighborhood's knowledge, they secured $2 million in the city budget to build a library on the very site where our farm sits. Next slide. Next. Ooh. Thanks so much, Brianna. And so the people that are involved, I just want to let you know the cast of characters. So namely, we are involved with everyone who comes to our farm. So the GVI, or Green Village Initiative formerly, is really going to be here till we get some kind of agreement moving forward. And we're going to be here representing the Reservoir, Reservoir Community Farm gardeners and vendors and visitors, and everyone who's part of this awesome community with us. We also are working really closely with the Reservoir NRZ. So that's a group of amazing leaders in the Reservoir neighborhood that are doing their work year after year, decade after decade. NRZ stands for Neighborhood Revitalization Zone, and these also exist in each district in Bridgeport. And it's a group of community members who come together to speak on behalf of neighborhoods to the city. So sometimes if a street needs to be repaved or you need new lights in an area, your NRZ is the place to go. So luckily the one in Reservoir is really communicative, and they've been very supportive of the farm for many years and worked beside us, and we're so grateful for that. We also have a lot of neighbors. So Catherine pointed out that her survey, they talked to 96 people in a matter of 3 days. And that's a testament to how amazing Farmer Catherine and Farmer Richard were at getting volunteers and helpers to do that survey, that community survey. And our neighbors, by and large, responded that they hadn't known about plans to develop the site. They'd never heard from a city council representative, and they had really mixed feelings about whether developing the farm site was a good idea or not. And we can dig more into those survey results. We're also going to publish them publicly on our website soon. Our gardeners and farm growers and youth, they are directly impacted. Miss Karen is on the call, and so are many other folks who garden in our community garden sites. And these spaces are more than just places to grow food. We also know that they're places where neighbors come together to build friendships, build relationships, and to have outdoor space. As someone speaking personally who doesn't have a yard, having an outdoor space to go to where you can grow food and get sunshine and see pollinators and dig in the dirt, that's a real privilege, and it should be a human right, we believe. The folks at the library board are also involved in this. And to keep you all updated, the city council representation for Reservoir spoke to the library board and told them that this was something that the community really wanted, that this is something that they'd been asked for. And so the library board entered into this idea to develop the farm based on the relationship they built with our city council representatives in the Reservoir neighborhood. And after speaking to them, they've been really, really interested in compromising or talking more about how to help the farm keep part of the land, but essentially they're pretty settled on developing there too, because they haven't been able to find another site in the neighborhood to build a library. And by library, we do mean, it's not exactly a library. I can get into that a little bit more later, but it's more of a tech center. It'd be a small building that's more of a, they're calling it more of a tech center than a traditional library. And these are the last of my slides, so I'm sorry I'm speaking so much. I'll end soon and have questions and lots of space for us to talk. But the Office of Planning and Economic Planning and Development, or OPED, sorry, it's the Office of Planning and Economic Development. They are the folks who re-sign our lease. They're currently not able to do that because there's potential development on the site. So they're kind of trying to broker an agreement with the library board, GVI, and all of the gardeners and farmers and youth, and the city council representatives. The other folks who are involved in this are our city council representatives that I've said before, the 2 city council representatives that are elected to the neighborhood who kind of brought this idea and brought the entire city council to vote for $2 million to be allocated in the city budget for this plan. And the last is the Reservoir District Leader. I actually don't know as much about the district leader as I do about the representatives. I don't know how many district leaders there are in Bridgeport, but I do know this is also a position that's elected through the Democratic Town Committee. So the Reservoir District Leader and the 2 Reservoir City Council representatives are all really interested in converting the farm into a library. Next slide. So that brings us to the community survey. As I mentioned, Farmer Catherine and Farmer Richard did an incredible job speaking to 96 community members, and overwhelmingly 89% of respondents claimed they did not know about this plan to conversion, which alone is troubling. And I do think that we would, our job in this is not necessarily to only advocate for a farm or be anti-library. That is not our interest, but our interest is representing the community. That's why community is in the name of our farm. And that's why we're doing this work, to talk to our community first as we work forward. Next slide, please. So I promise I'm wrapping up soon. We have a couple of options on the table. The first is, I want to make it really clear that we at GVI are committed to continuing our programming in Reservoir. We are not interested in just picking up roots and transplanting to elsewhere. We would very much like to continue the work that we've done, because this is where we have been so supported, so loved, and we love and support the neighborhood as well. It's been really vital to shaping what our entire organization is. The fact that we are planted with our hub site and Reservoir as our farm site. And we want to make it really clear we are open to a couple of options. One is continuing to operate on the site that we're on completely and just continuing business as usual if the library were to determine that they were not interested in the site. We would be okay with that option and we'd keep doing what we do. Or secondly, we are open to compromise with the library board as long as the construction would not interrupt GVI's programming. We would be interested in potentially splitting to part of the site as long as we could continue to offer fully all of our services and have some land nearby so that we could continue to grow the amount of food that we grow. And so we're not feeling like this is a all or nothing deal. There could be an either or, there is gray space, but we want to make it really clear that we don't want to cancel any of our programming or services because our community has told us that those are very important to them. So we want to continue to do the work that matters. Next slide. So next steps. As of today, we are still waiting for our council representatives, and that should be two council representatives and district leader to respond to our requests to meet with us and the library board about any potential compromises that could come from the use of the land. Unfortunately, they did name that if the library didn't use the full amount of land, they might be interested in converting the part the farm would be using into a police substation, which is obviously not something we'd be interested in compromising because then we would lose full use of the site. So it's important to keep in mind that we're not sure yet that they'd be open to us using half of the site, and that it is important that the council representatives come on board to whatever the next plan is. And we want to hear your thoughts. So with that, I will say this isn't your final chance to talk about this. If we go to the next slide, I'm going to be presenting this issue to the City Council on February 1st. You're welcome to join. I'll just be talking for 3 minutes at some time around 6:30. But we will be having a larger conversation where all of us can talk even more on Tuesday, February 2nd from 6 to 6:45. So I don't want this to be the last time you hear from us. I want to keep having really regular meetings to keep everyone updated on things moving along, because this isn't just about GBI, this is about our community. We're in this together. So I want to keep you updated every step of the way. Next slide. And finally, February 2nd is that date for the next time to talk. You can email info@gogbi.org to RSVP for a link. But now we're just going to open up into a free community session to talk. And we can go back to the screen with everyone's face and hear your thoughts on my updates. I covered it really quickly, so if you want me to repeat any portion of that, I absolutely can. I know I covered a lot of information, but also we can spend some time just hearing reactions and insights, and be sure to RSVP for our February 2nd conversation. And you can also feel free to reach out in private message if you don't feel comfortable being recorded, giving your opinions or thoughts. I just want to make that clear, like it is recorded so that we understand and can remember the conversation, but you are welcome to not speak on camera if you feel uncomfortable doing so. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening to a very long description of something that's pretty troubling and definitely something that's been heavy on our hearts for since November. But we're really looking forward to finding a path forward, because we're committed to our work and we're committed to food justice, and we're really committed to each other, and that's not changing. So with that, I'll hand it back to Brianna, who's our moderator this evening.
All right. Thank you so much, Ellie, for giving us the update on where we stand right now. This is something that we will keep communicating out, so stay tuned for our social media. Please join us at that next conversation with Ellie and support Ellie at the next City Council meeting. So if you have any thoughts, questions or concerns, please, let's get started. Let's get into it.
How you doing, Dr. Williams? So couple questions. We've talked about this issue prior, but when you talked with the library board, do you have any idea how hard they've truly looked for other sites in the North End? Because the question is, have they truly looked and they couldn't find anything, or do our local representatives just find a reason to say, okay, they weren't big fans of the farm, and maybe this is the way that they say, okay, they weren't fans and it's a way to take it down. What's your thoughts on that?
Very good question, Dr. Dan. From my discussion with the library board president, it seems that they, I need to investigate this more. I think it would be helpful for me to see on paper how much work has been done to do that. But his description was that they've looked at sites. They particularly want to be operating on city-owned land, so that the city's not spending money to begin construction, because then that would reduce some of their construction budget for this new library/tech center. So they're looking only at city-owned land, and that the sites in the area by the previous tea market across the street, they don't feel like that's a big enough site for them, and that some of the other sites that are on city-owned land wouldn't work for them for various reasons, and that really they feel the farm is the most shovel ready. But that's something that I don't have as much information on as I would like, which would be, if a civil engineer has looked at some of these other sites and made it possible, or if perhaps, to your point, the folks who want the farm to be developed into a library, namely the council representation and the district leader, have maybe propagated the idea that the farm is the only shovel ready site.
How big, when you talk with the library board, how big of a building do they need?
Great question. So the great news is that the site at the farm is 1.7 acres. 1.7 acres is about 75,000 square feet, I believe. the tech center / library space that they want to construct is, they believe, going to be around 8,000 feet. So that's just like a drop in the bucket, which is awesome, and really opened up the potential for us to compromise and use the space half and half, which was exciting. Unfortunately, the city of Bridgeport is not known for being very savvy with parking requirements. So that 8,000 feet could balloon if we use the same parking requirements that we see at a lot of other buildings around Bridgeport, where it's just huge expanses of parking lot for one building, for one small building. So it would be really important, if we do get to the point where we get to compromise and share the space, to make sure that the community is really letting the planning department know that they don't think that the site needs as much parking as they might initially design. That's a great question.
Ellie, it's Chrissy. Hey.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Yeah, I had a quick question, and I'm sorry you've already covered this because I came in later, but is there a reason that this building is there for that neighborhood? Like, is there a need for tech in that neighborhood, and that's why they're targeting that site?
Great question. So we found on the day that the city council approved this $2 million budget, it was named that that city council had promised the Reservoir neighborhood a library 25 years ago, and that it's never been built. So I don't believe that this is entirely based on perhaps like what the neighborhood currently requires or is asked for. The library wasn't able to say if they hadn't done any studies in the neighborhood or not. What we had done is in our survey that we're going to publish, we're going to release some information about asking folks like, do you have access to internet at home? Do you need access to books, and kind of really, and we wanted to actually do that because I think data gathering, whether it's, you know, to prove our point or to disprove our point, is really valuable. So that's why when we made this survey, we included those questions, and we also included, and we also had Sacred Heart University look it over to make sure that the questions weren't leading anyone in any particular direction, which I think is really important, and it's good to be transparent. To that point, I think that that is up to the community to name whether or not they feel like they need that site or not. Our survey kind of moves in the direction of saying that most folks were not super stoked for that use of the land, but I'll actually bring that to Catherine, who knows our survey inside and out. Farmer Catherine helped to create it with Farmer Richard, and she also has been analyzing all of the data. So Farmer Cat.
Yeah, can you repeat what specific data was just asked for? Oops, sorry.
I just was asking if somehow there was a sense that the neighborhood or people in the neighborhood or the leaders had recognized that tech needs were, like, you know, particularly prevalent in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the survey, we asked if people had access to the internet at home, and they overwhelmingly said that they did have access to the internet at home. Let's see, I'm gonna need a minute to pull that up, and then I can answer your questions a lot more specifically.
Okay, while you're doing that, I got a question in the chat. How will the construction project be funded? So great question. The city council approved $2 million from the city budget, which I'm going to be honest, not a total budget wonk. So I might not, this might not be the clearest answer. But what I do know is essentially that means that there are funds earmarked in the city budget, but $2 million cannot build a library. So the library would need to apply for state funding to be able to complete the library. And, you know, if we are allowed to stay on site and permitted to, or however we want to frame it, I did ask the library, you know, if they are allocated that funding and we help with that, if that would kind of improve our chances to stay on this land. Because right now it would be more up to the city or I'm sorry, up to the library board than the city. If the city grants the library board that land, it would be up to the library to determine if we can stay. And they said that that made a lot of sense, and they'd be open to incorporating some classroom design if they had the funding, and we helped them get the funding that the farm could use, and we really could use a classroom on site. So there is like a small win-win in there. That said, we are definitely a little nervous because construction can take so long, and years, in fact, in the case of some of the branches. And we are definitely very concerned that if they ran into funding challenges along the way, as they have with other branches of the library, that that might interrupt GVI programming for those years. So that's a very serious consideration that we have on our minds as we enter into potentially compromising, or as we enter into compromising with the library board. And I don't have an answer for how to control or what that would look like personally. So anyone who has any experience with that would love to hear from you.
And Ellie, I know the library has, made some local branches in some other neighborhoods, I think on the East End, and I don't know, in other parts of town. Do you have any idea when they completed those and what the traffic is into those buildings? And can we get that data?
Great question. That data is publicly available. I can put that when we publish our survey. We're gonna probably make a little page on the GVI website that we can send out to all of you, because we have your emails from RSVPing for this event. And that is publicly available information. The library tracks how each branch is used, their patronage. So yeah, so realistically, I think that's why they want to create a tech center in Reservoir versus a regular brick and mortar book library, because some of the patronage has been reduced. And obviously with COVID, like all of us have reduced visitors, but that's a really good question and some good data. Yeah. And Catherine says that she is ready to talk a little bit more about the survey.
Yeah, so initially when we were hearing about this issue, one of the main concerns was that maybe people needed to access Wi-Fi and computer services. Of respondents saying that that's what they would want to use a library for. And the other
Aló, María.
See if I can type.
I have a question.
I'm just gonna see if we can have Maria
No problem.
unmute really quickly, Ms.
Sí.
Karen.
¿Me escuchas, María? ¿Me escuchas? ¿Sí o no? I can't hear you. ¿No me
Te
escuchas?
escucho ahora, por fin, ya.
¿Me escuchas ahora? ¿Sí? ¿Y
Sí, te
Víctor?
escucho.
Sí, ahora.
Lo que estaba diciendo es, iba a pedir disculpas por haber entrado tarde, pero no entiendo cuál es mi posición en esta reunión. Primero. Segundo, sorry porque entré tarde. Y tercero, no sé si estoy bien ubicada aquí. si esto es para staff o es para capitanes o I don't know. No quiero perder mi tiempo, no le quiero hacer perder el tiempo a ustedes.
So she says sorry for arriving late. She wants to know her position in this meeting and.
Okay, so this is can you tell this is a community forum to discuss recent accomplishments and talk about the possibility of a library moving onto Reservoir Community Farm.
Okay, I'm just gonna give her a call on the other line.
Okay. Can everyone else hear us right now? I don't know. Oh, so this translation feature is not working.
Yeah, I think it's all one
So
room.
this is the issue, the translation. Estoy hablando con Alex hace rato para traducción y no funciona. Ni lo escucho todo en inglés. So pienso que no está por igualdad o equitativamente la información que están brindando. So quiero que lo sepa él y quiero que lo sepa el staff.
I'm so sorry, Maria. We were supposed to have 2 rooms for translation.
So ninguno de los dos están funcionando.
No, en el momento no están funcionando, pero yo te voy a llamar y voy a explicar todo, ¿ok?
Jessica, you
Sí.
survived, Jessica. Tú estás viva, Jessica. No me has llamado en muchos meses. Sorry, porque no sé lo que está pasando con GBI.
No, yo te voy a llamar y puedo explicar todo, ¿ok? Deme un momentito que estoy...
Pero,
Ok, deme un momento.
Thank you for telling us, Maria. Gracias.
Gracias, Ellie, because too many months. No sé lo que pasa con GBI.
Okay, I'm so sorry, Maria. And oh, what is there?
Tenía otra reunión muy importante también.
Claro.
Pero
Claro.
eso no me quita de poder recibir la información. Todo. Yo no sé en qué punto estoy. Si me voy, no me voy. O sea, si es importante que esté, no esté, porque si es un foro para inglés nada más. Y nosotros que hablamos español, los capitanes, que estamos el día a día con los jardineros y con la comunidad, no importa nuestra opinión, pues.
Yo, pues como te cuento, como llegaste tarde, ya están como en la parte final donde solamente están haciendo comentarios, pero todo lo anterior está toda la traducción. También tenemos un documento, me imagino que te lo podemos enviar. Alex, what should we do?
So, lo siento, es la primera vez que usamos este, pero could you ask her, Victor, could you tell her I'm going to send her a document with information?
Alex te va a enviar un documento con toda la información, un resumen de todo lo que se habló hoy.
Sí.
Si lo envío al chat, se me hace difícil. Si me lo puede enviar a mi email, es mucho mejor.
Can you send it to her email?
Sí.
Claro que sí.
Básicamente, si me tuvieras que resumir toda esta presentación en 5 minutos, si me tuvieras que resumir de todo lo que escuchaste, en tu opinión, ¿qué es lo más importante que yo debería saber?
So she wants to know what would be like the most important thing, like what would be a summary of what was talked about today.
Sí.
Nada que sea muy técnico, porque si son temas de staff, pues es de staff. Temas que son de capitanes, que yo debo saber.
Nothing too technical, like things about the captains that she should know about.
You can tell her there's nothing really about the captains, and that most of the conversation was about the library moving onto the farm.
Que no se habló mucho sobre los capitanes, la conversación se enfocó más que todo en la biblioteca que se va a pasar para la finca.
Ok. ¿Y en qué necesita mi opinión como persona que ha trabajado con GBI?
And like, would you guys need her opinion as a person that has worked for GBI?
See, I think so, because if the library moves in, we may lose the farm.
If the what? Can you repeat?
If the library moves in, we could lose the farm.
Que sí, porque si la biblioteca entra, podrían de pronto perder la finca.
Okay. So, me imagino que Eli tiene ya un plan que ha discutido con todos ustedes, o en algún momento, pues, me hará llegar la información a ver cómo yo puedo colaborar o ayudar, apoyar.
She says she guesses Ellie has already talked about this and has I guess, a plan. So whatever you guys need from Maria, she's ready.
Okay.
Algo muy
Sí.
Algo muy importante para mí, y quiero que Alex tome nota.
Something very important, and she wants you to take note.
Oh, sí. Sí, estoy
¿Ya
listo.
está listo?
Sí.
Ready? La persona que se está comunicando, por ejemplo, la persona que se debe comunicar conmigo como capitana, se comunique más seguido, porque déjame decirte que hace meses que yo no tengo comunicación, no me dan un update mensual de lo que está pasando en GBI. Estoy totalmente perdida.
Entonces, que la persona que esté a cargo, la capitán.
No, la persona que supervisa a los capitanes. La persona
So
que lleva la información en medio de él y los capitanes.
Que se contacte más contigo.
Conmigo, no, bueno, en mi caso particular yo estoy sufriendo de esa situación, pero quizás a lo mejor los otros capitanes no tienen el mismo problema, ya tienen mucha comunicación con los otros capitanes, pero conmigo específicamente no sé qué está pasando. ¿Qué debo saber yo como capitana?
She doesn't have a lot of contact with that person that supervises the captain, so she wishes to have more contact because sometimes she feels lost.
Okay.
Y adicional, en la última llamada que yo tuve con la persona, que yo creo que Ale sabe quién es, yo le expliqué algunos tópicos y quedamos en un plan que íbamos a revisar, y eso no sucedió.
And she says that last time she talked, ¿con quién se llama? She thinks you know the person, but ¿con quién hablaste?
Jessica.
Oh, with Jessica. She said
Ramos.
that last time she talked to Jessica, they decided on some objectives, but they never happened. They agreed on some things that never happened.
No, ella y yo hablamos hablamos unos
topics.
Creamos un plan que
¿Crearon un plan que
que íbamos a revisar en un mes y medio o 2.
That they were going to check in about a month and a half or 2.
Y eso nunca sucedió.
But it never happened.
Okay, sí.
Ahora la tengo que me está llamando por teléfono.
She's getting a call from Jessica right now.
So, no sé si, o sea, yo no soy persona conflictiva ni me gusta traer problemas, pero es una preocupación para mí porque vamos a empezar en abril, si Dios mediante, la nueva temporada.
So she's like, she doesn't want to create conflict, but she's worried because in April it's starting, right?
Sí.
La nueva y entonces quiero dar la información más clara a los jardineros.
So she wants to give real clear information to all the gardeners.
Okay. Well, can you tell that we have updates on the website?
Que hay actualizaciones en la página web.
And in our weekly newsletter, we send out updates, or we're going to send out updates.
Y que en lo que envían semanalmente de información van a mandar actualizaciones.
Y puedo hablar con ella acerca de organizar una reunión. And can you tell her that it may be tough because Jessica is the only person in the community garden program?
Que puede que sea difícil porque Jessica es la única persona en el programa. What program?
Community Garden.
En el programa de Community Garden.
Sí.
Puede que sea difícil.
Yo no estoy pidiendo privilegios, simplemente pues si necesitan que yo siga como capitana, pues me tienen que mantener al tanto de lo que quieren que ustedes yo haga, porque no voy a empezar una temporada haciendo lo que me da la gana, ¿entiendes?
She's not asking like to have privilege. She just wants to know like if she's going to continue being a captain, she needs, you know, to be updated and know because she doesn't want to improvise.
Okay. Okay. And tell her Jessica is joining right now.
Y,
Jessica ya se está uniendo.
y si me
Un momento.
Si me pudieran también enviar a mi email ese el periódico que él dice, los newsletters, los announcements, todo eso, pues se me hace mucho más fácil. Primero traducirlo de inglés a español para mí, en Google Translation, y tuviera yo más update de lo que está pasando. So.
If you can send the newsletters to her email directly, it would be a lot better because she can translate it a lot easier and she will be able to stay updated a lot easier.
Could you tell her I can send her personal emails and I'll type out very clearly updates.
Sí, él te puede enviar correos con todos los detalles a ti personalmente.
Me parece un buen plan. So, voy a tomar notas sobre todo esto, de que conversamos sobre esto, a ver qué pasa.
She agrees. She's going to take notes about this and hopefully it will work.
So, ¿algo más que necesitan de mí antes de yo decir bye?
Do we need anything else from her before she says bye?
Just gracias.
No, gracias. Muchas gracias.
So, por favor, dile a Eli que estoy interesada en seguir continuando mi posición de capitana y que no quise parecer muy intensa al entrar a la reunión así abruptamente, pero si no lo hago así, no se soluciona el problema, you know?
She says, tell Ellie that she would like to continue working as a captain and she's sorry to, you know, join the meeting late in that way. She didn't mean to, but she just, you know, had to do it so she could, you know, get the things done and be updated.
Sí.
Ok, pues nos vemos. Gracias. ¿Cuál es su nombre, intérprete?
Víctor Muñoz.
Víctor, muchas gracias, Víctor, por su interpretación.
Con
Gracias,
mucho gusto,
Alex,
María.
por tratar de ayudar siempre.
Thank you, Alex, for trying to help, always trying to help.
Muchas gracias.
So, see you.
Adios.
Adios.
Bye.
Ciao.
All right, so I'm going to put everyone back in the same room. That was stressful. I was just getting so many messages at once.
Yeah, she was lost, feeling like a little lost.
I don't know why that didn't work, but next time we'll definitely be doing a test run before the actual meeting.
Yeah, better.
All right, so I'm going to rejoin everybody.
All right.
I think it broke us out into another breakout room.
We went to another breakout room? Oh, yeah. The breakout room is going to close automatically in like 30 seconds. People are coming in.
That was their first option, and it failed. Now they have this, that recoding that we saw on that meeting. They said in so many words what that was recoded. They're recoding that farm so that they can put that library there.
Right.
He said it in so many words. And I don't know if you was listening, Miss Bracy, but he had that talk with the councilwomen before he got to us. Mind you, I spoke to him earlier that day, and not once did he tell me he spoke to the councilwomen on it.
I agree.
So keep in mind, this is more than a game of chess. This is a fight for your life to keep this farm. And no matter how we look at it, like this is kind of helping them along too?
That what is helping them, Judith?
The city. I feel the city is helping them along too, because I spoke to a representative from the city of Bridgeport. I'm not gonna say any names. It is a male though. And when we spoke about the farm, and I was very adamant about this library coming there, not saying that we don't want a library, but why can't it go somewhere else? The people need the farm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he didn't. Close to the mayor's office.
Judith, your sound is cutting out a little bit. I heard you say something about the mayor's office last. I just lost the last sentence.
Person was close to the mayor's office. So that leads me to believe that they're making deals with the mayor's office.
I agree.
So it might mean that we need to kind of move our attention to using our community power to talk to the mayor, is what you're saying, Judith, as a suggestion?
I feel that our community really needs to come out and rally.
I mean, I'm never not down for a rally, Judith. So I like where your mind is going. And I also want to be mindful that we're almost at 7:30. I see some sleepy babies on the call. And Judith, would it be okay if we direct it to Miss Karen, who raised her hand before, and Lauren?
I just have one simple statement. They want to make the Hill a library and a police substation. There's a police substation here in Building 10 that the mayor put there when he got in this last time, and the police officers are never there. So if they make a police substation up on the hill, are they going to be there? Because they're never here. And I'm with Judith. We need to rally. We need to get together, and all 400 of these residents out here and in the community need to get together and let them know, because it's only the 4 representatives out here in this district that want this library and police substation. It's just them, and it's not what they want, it's what their constituents want.
And they are not listening to their constituents.
They most certainly am not.
They're doing what they want.
Thank you, Miss Karen. Thank you, Judith. I really appreciate both of your voices and your ideas, because I think that you're right. Like it's gotten past it's going to get past the point. I'm still open to them coming to the table for like a little longer, but you're right. We're soon going to reach the point where we have to move past that and really talk about how our community can safely show what we want in numbers, because that does make a big difference in Bridgeport. We saw that with the movement for Black Lives and the work that's changing around policing in Bridgeport, and how when we show up and show out, we have community power. And like, I really appreciate your perspectives on that so much. And I want to honor that Jason raised his hand, and also Lauren had her hand up before and now has a very sleepy Miles as well. So Lauren, we'll go to you, and then Jason, and then I think we might close the call unless we have some more comments or questions come through.
Thanks, Ellie. I'll just point to the chat to say I was just clarifying that contacting Paul Boucher or Dennis Buckley about parking regulations, not just in general about the farm. They can help provide those particular parking regulations. So that was it. Thanks.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Miles, also important contributor to this meeting, little Miles. And Jason, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I feel like a lot of people feel very strongly about this, like what's gonna happen, and a lot of people are gonna be supporting it. So despite like given current what's been going on, I think we should tread with caution about telling people to rally and stuff like that before we have another incident.
Yeah, I agree. I think knowing when to get people connected and moving in numbers, the when is just as important as the how many. So that's a really good point, Jason. And so like I think we need to figure out what the next move is and who the person is that really is going to make this the final decision to keep the farm intact or keep a police substation off or whatever the next move is. And I would like, if possible, could a GVI member put the petition that we had, could you guys put that in the chats? Could someone put that in there so that everybody on the call has a chance to sign that? Because we are collecting names and folks' zip codes, which answers Jennifer L's question, a way for non-constituents to support Reservoir. We have a petition that Alex is going to put in the chat in just a moment in the last couple minutes of this call that you can click onto and sign. You can leave a comment and say why this matters to you. And that actually, when we had the street change issue a couple years ago, the petitions, and specifically having petitions from 65 neighbors of the farm, is what actually got the farm to get the one-way street that our council representatives put in reversed to make it into a two-way street for farm access. So that was really, your voices matter and your signatures matter. And Alex is going to drop that. Do we have any final thoughts or questions? I want to, and if there's any voices that didn't contribute tonight, or any kind of insights that anyone wants to bring to the group, we'd love to hear them before we wrap up at 7:30.
I had one last question, Ellie. Is there a date or something that's like an imperative that if you don't do something, or do you not know that right now?
That's part of the issue, Chrissy. We've got our lease is up. Just to clarify, our lease is officially over on in March of 2022, and a lot can happen between now and then. So being able to know whether we are compromising to share the land with the library, or you know, whatever happens, we just need to know it pretty far in advance, because this really impacts our ability to employ young people. It impacts our ability to grow several tons of food and incubate farms like Blissful Awakenings and a space for Park City Harvest to sell their food. Like, it deeply impacts hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families for us to not know what the future looks like. And it is hard to not be able to tell you this is the date. But what we know right now is that we're going to have another gathering together in February. We had that, and we'll link that onto our social media as well. So another opportunity for us to get together. And I'll also be speaking at the, that'll be on February 2nd. And on February 1st, I'll just be making a 3-minute public comment to the City Council to let them know what's good and where we're standing. We might at some point ask folks to also speak to the City Council too, if we feel like that's a road to go down. But again, we want to use our energy most effectively. So we're really trying to strategize what's next. Melissa made a point that she feels that calling it as a library is a misnomer because it's a tech center. So misnomer means like the wrong name for it. So that's a good point, Melissa. Alex dropped the petition into the chat. So it's linked there if you want to share it, if you want to sign it. We would love to have all the support we can get. And we'll put that on our social media again several times a month moving forward to get as many signatures as we can and gain community support. We're now at 7:31, so I kept us past our time. Please email info@gogvi.org to register for next updates. And just let us know that you want to be updated on the library conversion conversation, even if it isn't the right name for exactly what this is. Good point, Melissa. And we are really, really grateful for your time tonight. All we can do is see the silver lining, which is that potentially we might not all be sharing this virtual space if we didn't have such a big threat, right? Like, and so it's really important to remember that in the hardship and the dark times like we got through over the past 4 years, it's really community that gets us through, and we're really grateful for all of you. So yes, good point, Jason. The definition of library is evolving, but I invite all of you to come off of your mute and say good night. And please reach out to us at info@gogvi.org if you have any extra questions or comments or want to touch base with us. But please come off come off mute and say goodnight. We'd love to say goodnight to you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank
Have
you
a
so
blessed
much.
night.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Love you.
Good night.
Love
If
you
they
all.
build a
Take care.
library, they should build a seed library if they want to build a library.
We're going to be, oh my gosh, we're working on that actually this year, Jennifer.
Oh, that's
Farm
awesome.
California's. Yeah, we're hoping to have a cool insulated spot for seeds on our farm that we're going to call the seed library.
Oh, anytime I can volunteer, I'm in.
Has anybody suggested
We're gonna
that?
do this summer.
Has anybody suggested we just claim the rooftop space on the library and take that over?
Oh my
We don't
God.
even need to tell them. We'll just show up there one day and put a flag on top of the building.
Have a green roof.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
But
actually
yeah,
not a bad idea.
we're hoping that maybe if we work together with the library really closely, we could help them design what this library looks like, which would be pretty neat. That's kind of a win-win, but
It
not
would be amazing to share, but I am scared, like, what happens to the power dynamic, and it would, they try to take over GVI, which is a nonprofit, non-governmental, and for the community, not part of the government, and it's whatever it's got going on. So
yeah, it'd have to be super based on trust, and so that's like a hard part of the conversation moving forward, but I'm hoping I can invite the library board to come to our future conversations. And oh my gosh, I know this is off topic, but Koa is so beautiful. Congratulations to you and Heidi.
Oh, thank you so much.
He's so perfect. We're so proud of him being in the world and repping GVI.
I'm beside myself. I have no clue what I'm doing, or just I'm just walking around as carefully as possible. I'm sure I'm going to drop him.
No, you'll be fine. No butterfingers.
No. It's been more than I ever thought, and I thought I was prepared. So it's.
Congratulations. And yeah, we're so grateful that you guys were able to join, and that really goes to all of you on the call. Thank you, everyone. I'm gonna sign off because I haven't eaten any dinner yet, so my stomach has been rumbling, but I love you all. Take care and stay safe tonight.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.